Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Extra, your essential guide to the whirlwind of Nigerian life, or drama, or struggle. Pick your choose, as the local parlance goes. Now today we're diving into a retrospective on a Tinubu-led first year in office tenure and all the gifts it has given us this half year. A half year that has brought its fair share of hardships for Nigerians. As we navigate the stormy seas of adversities, it seems our future is looking as bleak as a power outage during the heat months of February or March. In this struggle, even the multinationals are waving the white flag and preparing to flee the country as the cost of manufacturing here becomes an unbearable burden. Imagine that. I mean, even the giants can't handle it. So the question is, who are you? And if you thought a new national anthem, well, an old one that's dusted and polished would be our savior, well, think again. It's almost poetic. Multinationals or multitude of woes driving away our multinationals. I mean, hey. And speaking of familiar tunes, the labor unions are back with the same old melody, and it's "Not Nigeria We Hail Thee," announcing yet another strike action starting Monday, that's tomorrow. It's like trying to teach a stubborn old dog with the same worn-out stick. It's not going to fetch. It's just too used to it by now. It only just gonna call your bluff considering the consequences and saying, nah, I'm gonna do that anyway. Meanwhile, the political theater in Rivers State, well, it took a brief intermission only for the Kano Emirates tussle. But worry not, my dear friends, the drama resumed with a vengeance in time to knock whatever excitement Sanusi versus Bayero might have brought your way, as 25 seats were declared vacant in the Rivers State Assembly, signaling the beginning of Season 2 of this hot drama between Governor Siminalayi Fubara and the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike supporters. Viewers, it's time to pick your poison for the week. Which will it be? Game of Thrones Kano edition or the Sims of Godfathers prequel in Rivers State? See what I did there? Sims of... Never mind. In any case, let's end our prologue on a brighter note. And I said that deliberately, as we honor a true legend on today's show, the late, great Fibian Ogunipe, whose seminal work, Brighter Grammar, has shaped the very fabric of Nigerian spoken grammar and accents since the 80s. Now, her contribution continues to illuminate our language and communication, reminding us that even in the darkest times, since May 29th last year, there's always a beacon of light guiding us forward. So hey, stay tuned as we unravel these stories and much more right here on Breakfast Central. And ladies and gentlemen, please bid my humble self, Mazino Appeal, and my lovely co-host, Judith Atibi, welcome as we settle in to regale you with news to anticipate for the coming week. Stay tuned, because coming up right next, it's going to be time for the dailies.
Well, thank you once again for joining us on this Sunday edition for Breakfast Extra. And as you know it, we make sure to give you everything that matters. On today's show, we'll be looking into matters arising from the labor union's announcement of a pending strike again, which is scheduled for tomorrow, Monday. Also, Governor Sanwo-Olu's 5 years in office, all right? We're going to be taking a look at that, as well as cyberbullying and its effect on true journalism and much more. And so, to get up or to kick off the Sunday edition, let us bring you the front pages of the dailies this morning from Nigeria and some parts of Africa. And to get started, we were going to look at the front pages of The Guardian. Now, if you pick up the front pages of The Guardian, which are about to roll up on your screen, there you go. The very first story that pops at you is how divestment compounds environmental injustice in Niger Delta. And you can see that story, find that story there on pages 6 and 7. You can see at the bottom there of that picture there, or rather that caricature painting, is the Nigerian government must immediately put an environmental remediation fund in place to deal with rising spills. It is unfortunate that Nostra is at the mercy of the oil companies due to financial constraints. And that's Chima Williams. I think that quote is from Chima Williams. At the bottom, Dangote exports 315 million liters of aviation fuel to Europe. Others, you can find that story on page 3. 2024 marathon race has opened up Rivers' economy, says Fubara. And that's on page 3 there. Why NLC TUC should shelf nationwide strike, federal government. And that's on, you can find the story on page 2. Next to it there is this headline, Tinubu's policies indicative of inclusive growth and brighter future for the nation. And that's on page 3. At the bottom there, Akpabio, their anthem and presidential library inside stuff. Oh, you can find the story at the back page of The Guardian. When you go to the very top there, rising campus violence raises need for reforms in justice system. You can find that story/feature on page 5. And right next to it is why Nigerians should not panic over creation of state police by Governor Rada. And that story is on page 8 of The Guardian.
Yes, indeed. You forgot to say good morning to me, but it's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. We already said good morning now.
Moving on now. Sunday Independence got these headlines on it for you. The first big one that hits you. Concern swells over lack of transparency in Tinubu's administration. Stakeholders insist all sector activities still opaque. True. This on page 2, by the way, another writer there cast doubts on project execution. Reports say fiscal control, it continues. And to the side of that, lawyers for Tinubu's administration on human rights rule of law urge governments to stop intimidation, harassment of journalists. Can we hear that again? Thank you very much. And PDP will bounce back in 2027, says Damagun at the top for Sunday Independence. 70,603 candidates sit for National Common Entrance Exam into Unity College. Do you remember your one? Most traumatic experience of my childhood life, by the way, because I had to do it inside of a poultry shed of those Unity schools. It was...
Oh, when I think about it, my own was very nice. We went to Apapa. It was very cool.
An excursion. Lucky
yeah,
you.
It was so cool. It was in Apapa. It was one of the GRAs in the school there. And afterwards, we went to the UAC eatery, and then my dad rewarded me.
Memories on the headlines.
Yeah, there we go. Hopefully he's watching.
And more for Sunday Independent. Iago Eruse, Shine in Rivers Marathon. Win gold and $20 million. Marathon will open up Rivers' economy, says Governor Fubara. At least something good's coming out of Rivers State. Under the photo story for this morning on the Sunday Independent, minimum wage FG proposed 60,000 naira to curtail job losses, says Labour Minister. Says strikes will compound economic woes. Private sector has accepted 60,000 naira, man DG. We're going to take a look at this after and perhaps maybe look at it critically. Maybe the truth will hit us in the face when we do. Abuja Discos to disconnect defense headquarters, others over electricity debt. And when they say others, they mean very many government parastatals. There's a lot of them on the list. It's actually quite hilarious to see. And lastly, let's see now. Jitsu Kapoko stool feud, victims recount ordeal. That on page 31. That will do it for the Sunday Independent.
Let's move now to Daily Trust. Hopefully we can pull that up there for you. Daily Trust, there we go. The very first story that picks at you, minimum wage, flight disruptions, fuel scarcity, darkness loom as Labour mobilizes for strike. FG asks NLC TUC to shelf action, says 494,000 naira wage will cost 9.5 trillion naira. And that's on page 4 there. At the very top, reminisces development where we missed the road. Professor Gambo Laraba Abdullahi. And I'm sure that's an interview there. You can find that story on page 12, 13, and 14 of the Daily Trust Sunday. Right next to this is their feature. Tuition fee increment, high cost of living, threaten varsity students' survival. And that's on page 7. Well, they didn't lie. That is true. At the bottom there, Shatima Fashola, false call for parliamentary system. And you can find that story on page 6. Right at the bottom there is FG rescues 61 stranded Nigerians in Chad. And that story is on page 6. 70,603 pupils write 2024 Common Entrance Exam into Unity schools. And that's on page 8. Right next to it, 1 year after federal government yet to implement national language policy in schools. Parents, pupils await mother tongue usage. Students will excel with local languages, and that's from experts. It's a gradual process, and that's from the government. You can find this story on page 5 at the bottom. Killers of soldiers in Aba committed treasonable offense, and that's from Tinubu there on page 6.
All right, now I think we've got this day for Sunday up next, and we've got a plethora of headlines actually. First big one. Nationwide industrial action will spell doom for Nigeria. FG warns, says NLC's 494,000 naira minimum wage demands are unsustainable. Electricity, oil, maritime, judicial workers mobilize for labor's indefinite strike tomorrow. And construction workers give 21-day ultimatum, says sector loses 52,000 jobs. At the very top for this day. For further consultation, Senate bows to pressure, suspends action on amendment of CBN Act. Apex Bank permits IOCs to sell 50% of repatriated export proceeds to authorized FX dealers. And President condemns killing of 5 soldiers by gunmen in Abia. That's on page 4. Interesting read there. I think there's a bounty of 25 million naira out for the killers of the soldiers, which is one way to go about things. State police creation is the best way to tackle insecurity. Katsina governor insists on page 5, that one. And South Africa's election ends 3 decades of ANC dominance. Now it's happy times in South Africa, but then again, you want to remember, they've been doing this for 30 years. They might have gotten good at it. What happens after? Not too sure. Well, I guess we're going to wait and see. Well, that's as much as we can take for the dailies this morning, but coming up, we have a very interesting big story coming your way. River State's debacle has started all over again. It took a recession for a minute, but it's back. And we're going to be taking a look at these 25 seats that have become vacant. We have our guests on standby, so do stay tuned. Welcome once again. It's Breakfast Extra. And you're welcome. Let's get started with the stories for today. Now, from last week, on Thursday, a River State High Court sitting in Port Harcourt granted an order of interlocutory injunction restraining Martins Amawale and 24 other lawmakers from parading and holding themselves as members of the River State House of Assembly. Now, the court, presided over by Justice C. Nwali, also issued an interlocutory injunction against Governor Siminalayi Fubara and State Attorney General of River State and the Chief Judge of River State, who are the 26th to 28th defendants in the suit. They are restrained from dealing with, interfacing, or accepting any resolution, bill, or other actions from Amawale and the 24 others.
Now, Justice Wale ruling on a suit filed by the Speaker of the River State House of Assembly, and that's Victor Okojombo, Sakari Goodboy, and Adolphus Timothy. Now, as claimants they refrained Amawale and the 24 others from sitting in the auditorium of the House of Assembly's quarters or at any other place to carry out any legislative functions of the River State House of Assembly. Now, to this end, the court declared the suits or the sits of Amawale and the 24 others vacant pending the hearing and determination of the substantive suit. Now, the matter was adjourned to 1st July 2024 for a motion hearing.
Now, joining us to discuss the implications of this interlocutory injunction against the governor and the declaration of vacant seats in the House, we have Mr. Ikenga Chibike, ABC spokesperson, River State, and of course, Mr. Shogbeye Eli, River State legal practitioner. You're welcome, gentlemen. Good to have you here.
Thanks for all the
Thank you so much.
My name is Shogbeye Eli.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, Mr. Eli, I'm coming to you first. Let's ask, please, can you first explain the legal significance of the injunctions granted by Justice C. Nwali? What exactly are the immediate effects of this injunction on the 25 lawmakers, and especially for the governor himself, Siminalayi Fubara?
Good morning, Nigeria. I think the immediate significance of that is a pronouncement of the judge of the High Court is law itself. In fact, for the Relish School of Law, what we discuss jurisprudence, beginning from the likes of Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes of the U.S. Supreme Court, they say the pronouncements of the judges are nothing more pretentious. It's a law. In other words, what Parliament enacts on paper is not law until a judge breathes life into interpreting that section of the law or an entire law. So the pronouncements of the judge are to be taken as the law until the higher court By that I mean the court with the higher jurisdiction pronounces otherwise on the same subject. So as it stands today, what my Lord, the Honorable Justice Charles N. Wale of the High Court of Rivers State has pronounced regarding declaring the vacancy, declaring the seats of those 25 or 27 lawmakers vacant is a law until the appeal court speaks otherwise as a law. Until the judge himself, in taking the matter, a member is adjourned for
a Zoom meeting.
Yes, until he sets aside himself when he has a substantive matter. That's the position of the law right now. They are not members of the House of Assembly as it stands.
So what are the implications for the vacuum that these 25 seats now create? Or although that they've been in this conflict for the past almost 1 month, there has been a vacuum. How is that affecting legislature in Rivers State currently?
It cannot. And before I make that point, let me also say that the order of court binds civilly on the governor. As you see, even the CGA, there are 25th, at least 26 to 28 defendants from howsoever receiving anything from the order 25. However, with regards to your question on vacancy, there is no vacancy. You may want to please turn your attention to section 102 of the Constitution to see for yourself whether or not the vacancy does exist. It does not exist. The members of the Assembly today are 3 in number. The current Chief of Staff, Government House, Edna here have resigned his membership of the House. The vacant portion, the only vacant portion by that resignation that is known to law is his resignation. Others voted with their own feet out of the House. Now, there's nowhere the Constitution contemplated a situation where lawmakers voluntarily on their own vacate their seats by breaking section 109 sub 1G, and that suddenly the House of Assembly will go in complete abeyance or shut down because some people left the House on their own. The remainder of the House constitutes membership of the House of Assembly because they have no legal encumbrance. So if you look at section 102 of the Constitution, it says whatever they do shall not be invalidated on account of that vacancy that you identify until such a time when INEC will deem it fit and proper to conduct by-elections or fresh elections as it were, to fill those seats to represent other constituencies like mine, whose member had voted with his feet to leave the House, in contravention of section 109 sub 1G.
Mr. Ikenga, Chibike, let me come to you and ask this. As a representative of the APC, how is the APC planning to respond to the recent court ruling that restrains its 25 lawmakers, many of whom are now affiliated with the APC? And just to add to that, what strategic moves could the party consider in light of this development?
Excuse me. Thank you very much. And thank you, Nigerians, for listening and watching. Yeah, I can see the excitement in my colleague who you introduced as a legal practitioner in Rivers State. He is a legal practitioner, but he is also a member of the Governor Fubara's team. He is a member of their team, so he shouldn't feign any neutrality. He should be very open to say that that's what he's advocating for. So having taken that position, the excitement I've seen in him is because all the analysis he had drawn are to placate his interests and the interests of his team. Having said that, Rivers State is undergoing some serious tumultuous situations by the activities of the governor who procures court orders and judgments to ambush a legally and constitutionally instituted Rivers State House of Assembly under the leadership of Right Honorable Martin Sanwo-Olu. Yes, we are aware that Justice Wale had a few days ago delivered what he called an interlocutory order. And he did that when there is pendency at the Court of Appeal. His actions have been challenged at the Court of Appeal. When he gave his order, we challenged it. And then he went ahead to give the order on interlocutory. All those matters which he had addressed had already been addressed by Justice Omotosho, wherein Justice Omotosho gave a judgment, and judgment is superior to an interlocutory order. And the judgment Justice Omotosho gave granted legality and constitutionality to the Right Honorable Martin Sanwo-Olu led assembly. And to this day, it has not been vacated. However, these matters have all been consolidated at the Court of Appeal. And in the next few days, we will know what the position is. And the Court of Appeal is a superior court, and when decision is taken, either way, we now know where we stand. But as we speak, all the decisions have been taken by Justice Sanwo-Olu and some of his cohorts who have become appendages to the executive under Governor Sim Fubara. Rivers people are watching, and we shall resist legally, constitutionally, all such actions that are not in tandem with the whims and caprices of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended.
Now, Mr. Eli, I noticed that earlier on, as Mr. Chibike was giving his response, you seem to be shaking your head. Do you want to reply to some comments he made earlier?
I'm actually gutted by the recklessness of my friend and my brother. First, he would want to tie me into the political tar brush. Yes, I'm a politically exposed person. In fact, I was elected as the pioneer state unity of the APC, that today he sits as an impostor, having been appointed ultra-advisor of constitution. That is a matter of sub judice. I'm not coming further on that. His appointment has been challenged in court. But having said that, I'm also shocked that he could use those kind of despicable words on the Honorable Justice Sanwo-Olu, and then they call his brother judges cohorts. I think that for the purpose of having a decent conversation here, let's exercise decorum. Before the world, this is an international television station or on satellite TV, the world is watching. We cannot be watch our dirty linens in public. And as a lawyer, I take strong exceptions to any non-lawyer addressing the judiciary in such contemptuous manner. I haven't said that. Maybe let me also clear his doubts. The pendency of an appeal on an issue, on an interim order or any matter does not necessarily serve as a stay of proceedings in the court below. Maybe he doesn't know that. Justice Wali granted an interim order upon a motionless party. That's the one that appealed against. And asked him that is appealing, what's his grounds for appealing? He is not a party in the suit, so what does he know about it? The 27 lawmakers that had that have a grounds of appeal. Does he have one? Does he have a locus? He doesn't have. He speaks to what he was told. Now, the judge adjourned the matter to hear the interlocutor application, which, of course, are granted. No matter what happens to the appeal court will not tell him that the judge acted out of jurisdiction. Nowhere in the law does it say that when the matter is on appeal or a ruling, an appeal is on a ruling on an interim or interlocutor, that the court below must cease fire until there's an express order from the court above. No appeal serves as automatic stay. I should clear his doubt. As for the issues, he made reference to Justice Milord Justice James K. Omotosho of the Federal High Court. He probably does also understand that the Federal High Court is not the superior court to the State High Court. In any event, by the practice direction issued by the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, these things are settled. Matters that fall within jurisdictions of courts should be handled in those geographical territorial jurisdictions. For instance, the Federal High Court in Rivers State has at least 4 judges sitting per time. For those who want Abuja to file suits in Abuja for matters that are called the Rivers State, they know why they go there. I'm not going to argue that, but by practice direction, the advice will come here, where the geography of what happened, you're complaining about, happens. So having said that, he also does not know that the judgment of the Federal High Court does not serve as a stay or does not bar judges of the High Court of Rivers State who share concurrent jurisdiction in the Federal High Court from hearing issues that arise. You also want to recall that in trying to apply a political solution to this crisis, this self-inflicted crisis, by the same people who are elected on the PDP platform in Rivers State, the president intervened and brought a political solution to a constitutional issue. As you can see, it was like putting the square peg in a round hole. It didn't work. And of course, you can see, if you ask me how it did not work, I'll tell you. The same Justice Omotosho judgment that my brother is referring to, King Chibike is referring to, was one of those matters that arose from the directive in that presidential directive that all the parties withdraw their suits in courts. The 27 lawmakers who want to hide under the armpit of the president to commit travesty of justice, infraction of the law, abuse of the constitution because they think the APC is not a shelter to hide because APC is the party of the president, did not withdraw their suits. Look at the date Justice Omotosho gave that judgment and refer back to when that meeting held in the presidency where The president
Mr.
issued
Shubey,
an
I don't want to
8-point
go too
directive.
far. There's something I want to touch on. You said something regarding the location and the choice of courts that the complainants are actually choosing to go to. Are you saying that this has, this influences the judgment or influences the rulings that come out of it, the location or the courts that are chosen? Is that what you're saying?
I didn't say that.
And is that deliberate?
I didn't say so. I didn't say that I could have said so. What I just cited the practice direction issued by the Chief Judge of the Federal Court. To the extent that when matters arise in the geographical location and there is a court in that area, in this case the Federal Court, you need to go to another jurisdiction, another judicial division of that court, same court. It is one Federal Court with judicial divisions across the country. So these matters happened, the locus of the matter states. So those
thank you for clarifying that. Thank you for clarifying that. Let's give Mr. Ikenga an opportunity here for a minute, please.
Mr. Chibike, you just heard Mr. Eli and his response, right? If you want to reply, you have a right to reply to do that. But also, as you're giving that reply, given the court's restriction on your legislative actions by the restrained lawmakers, what plans does the APC have to ensure that its legislative agenda is still pursued within the Rivers State House of Assembly?
Okay, a quick one. The issues I raised about Soboye Eli being a member of Fubara's team and whatever analysis is given is to pander to the interest of Fubara and his team. He carefully dodged it and took us on a wide goose chase, interpreting his own understanding of the cases in court and the outcome that would be. But I want to disagree completely with him because he is not the court. He is just a lawyer, like he said. He said he's been practicing law, bragging. I know that we're in the same party, and he has never won any case for this party. I know him very well. So let us concentrate on the issues at stake and stop talking about individuals. I didn't insult his person. I only raised an issue that is an interested party. That was the issue raised, and he didn't address it. Be that as it may, those who are affected by the judgment that was given, and I want to repeat, I did say clearly that most of the cases in the Rivers State High Court are procured by the governor, most of them, if not all, and that Justice Sanwo-Olu and his cohorts, a group of judges in Rivers State Court, justices, go ahead to pander to the whims and caprices of the executive in Rivers State. I said so. I did not say the judiciary. I did not say all the courts. So whatever he's saying is his business to say, and I stand to be corrected, and I want to say that Justice Sanwo-Olu and a few of Justice Danagogo, they are the people who the governor has procured to continue to fester this crisis. I say so. And I want to say clearly further that all those who are affected by the interlocutory order delivered by Justice Sanwo-Olu have taken positions to challenging such, and that, like I said, in the next few days, we will hear from a superior court what the position is. Either way, then we know what to do next.
Right. Mr. Ikenga, I was going to come to you and say something, but I'll leave that for now and turn to Mr. Eli, right? Ikenga just talked about the court's ruling and what it would be in the coming days or weeks. But what does the court declaration of the seats, being vacant mean for the political structure of the Rivers State House of Assembly? You are a legal practitioner. What does it mean for the Assembly? And how does this affect, the legislative representation of the affected constituency, And now I'm going to bring Mr. Ikenga into this conversation in that latter part of that question, because this is about democracy. This is about, governance for the people. This is about constituting that all the constituencies who are affected by this, by what is now looking like an inter-party situation, be resolved that, the dividends of democracy gets to the constituency. I'll start with you, Mr. Eli.
Thank you very much. Again, I would refuse to be drawn into dirty gutter with Ikenga. He alluded to the fact I've not won the case for the APC, and I wanted to laugh. I wanted to choke with laughter because he cannot cite one case where the APC gave me a brief to the presenter. He has no such information anywhere. So let's limit our emotions here. straight to the question you've asked, I thought I've answered, and let me repeat. We're dealing with purely legal and constitutional questions here, not emotions. My friends are affected by this. Our friends in the House of Assembly, acquaintances across time, who are affected by this, but the law is a law. And that's why the goddess of justice, Hermes, the symbol you see that we use as the goddess of justice, that Greek goddess is blindfolded, has the shield, has the scale on the left arm, and then the sword on the right. That goddess of justice doesn't know who is before the courts. It simply cuts according to the weights of the scales. So here we are. Those guys are sworn into that assembly on the Constitution, as it is the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That law that gives them powers to legislate for Rivers State also has pros and cons, do's and don'ts. Now, if you look at Section 109, it provides provisos in Subsection 1, where it shows you the grounds for which you can defect to another party. One of those is if your party goes to a merger during your tenure, you can defect. It goes further to say that if you take another office, for instance, you leave the House of Assembly. It goes further to say that if you defect, there must be a division in your party. That's what I'm talking about paragraph G now. Now, that paragraph of the law has been interpreted by the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, in that same constitution. In the case of Ifeda Abegunde against Ondo State Assembly and others, to the fact that where you defect and there's a division, the division must be of a national character. And the Supreme Court, the justice of the Supreme Court went further to illustrate in that judgment. I urge my brother, my friend, to go and read it. Now, assuming you say there's a division in Labour Party in Ondo State, they use this Federal Bank of Nigeria as an illustration and say, assuming there was a crisis in a branch of First Bank, would you say that affects the entire First Bank nationwide? The answer is no. So assuming without conceding that there was a crisis that led to a division, which informed the defection to the APC, how be it that today, at the close of poll and as of today, 3 PDP members were elected to the Senate. Senator Dr. Palebo Panik representing me, Rivers West, Senator Onyeso for Rivers East, and Senator Barry Impigi for Rivers Southeast. They are all members of the PDP till this day. If you go to the House of Representatives, we have 13 seats. Out of the 13, APC won one through Dr. Anderson Igbix. Then one other seat was won by Labour Party by one Duru for Port Harcourt Constituency 1. And of course, the rest of the 11 were won by the PDP. All of them are still in the PDP. In fact, the minority leader of the House of Representatives, Okechinda, is a PDP member and represents the Bekbo constituency. All right, federal constituency. So this is not in Rivers State. So from whence came the imagination that the 27 of them can defect to the APC on the grounds that there was a division in their party? And I've read some of what they've written in some of their affidavits, that there was a crisis over the office of National Secretary at the time they defected. And we were saying that it's not enough. It's not sufficient. Going by the precedent, the silent decisis laid down by the Supreme Court in the case of Ifeda Abegunde and others, you cannot vary it.
Well, thank you for this example. Thank you for the example, Mr. Eli. Thank you very much. But I would like to ask both of you gentlemen this question here, and I'm hoping that you guys will desist from engaging in any crossfire while I'm asking. But I need something answered here. Now, each time the Rivers State crisis comes up in discussion, there's always a crossfire between both parties, whether in support of the previous governor or in support of the current governor. But someone seems to be left out of the conversation every single time. The people that they're supposed to be governing. So I'm asking exactly, Mr. Ikenga, this is for you, and then you can reply, Mr. Eli, after. How exactly, especially, is the APC trying to maintain support when it comes to the issues that Rivers State is going to currently? In your response, please be fair.
Okay, thank you. Firstly, I'd like to respond to him because the lady
I was hoping you weren't. Okay, but go on.
The lady did say that after Mr. Sobwe had spoken that I will also address the same issue. So it's only on that issue I will take before we come to the next one. So let me say, clearly in Rivers State, I know that the governor of Rivers State, Sim Fubara, is not interested in democracy. He's not interested in people, in participatory democracy. He has decided to see everything that he could do possible to continuously stampede the House of Assembly. He wants to be a lone man. He doesn't want the legislative arm. He had already procured a large spectrum of the judicial arm. So it's becoming dictatorial. And having stopped this large number, quote and unquote, having stopped, quote and unquote, this large number of persons from participating and representing their people. What does that show? It shows that the government is not willing to allow the greatest number of the people to be represented. And that is what democracy is all about. So I know that they are interested in one-man show. I know that that's what the PDP in Rivers State and the governor, that's what they pursue. They are not interested. You can see the governor is interested in taking 2-3 people to pass the budget, in taking two or three people out of 32. That's most unfortunate. So the government is not interested in the representations that come with these constituents. And that's what the people are fighting. That's what people are saying, that we need to participate. The governor is busy chasing the representatives at the local government levels. He's trying to stampede them out of office. He's not interested in conducting elections. He wants to appoint people. He doesn't want proper things to be done. He doesn't want the constitution to be respected in such a way that elections are conducted before the end of the tenure of local government. He's on the other side also chasing the state house assembly members. He wants everybody to be cleared off the way so he can be a dictator. Whatever he says, he makes laws, he passes the laws, he executes the laws, as well as adjudicates when there's conflict, as he's presently doing. So these are some of the challenges that we have seen, and we are continuing to pursue and press for greater participation for the people.
Now, to the question of the public support, where does it lie, would you say? What do the people want in Rivers State?
Okay, firstly, what the people want is good governance. What people want is transparency and accountability, delivering on goods and services that people here for. And it is completely lacking in Rivers State. The governor, this last 1 year, failed. There's no one project that he can call to himself that, look, I initiated and delivered this. Look at what Abia State is doing. And what we're talking about is that the governor is more a politician today when elections have come and gone. He has activated the election mood and is campaigning, going from one local government to the other, under the guise of Thanksgiving. And then the governor's divisive rhetoric, the governor's ethnic leanings in his positions and decisions are worrisome. Rivers State has been one state where we have all the ethnic nationalities that make up our state who live peacefully and harmoniously all these years. But the governor's body language, his comments, his rhetoric, the actions, the languages he uses.
May I ask what his ethnic leanings are? What are these ethnic leanings? What are the ethnic leanings you're talking about here? These ethnic leanings.
The governor, we have a lot of ethnic groups that make up Rivers State who have lived harmoniously. Some people have come from other ethnic groups to become governor. But today, when you see the governor, like yesterday, if my friend at the studio, he's an Ijaw man, the man at the studio, there's an Ijaw man, he will see that some Ijaw leaders yesterday addressed the press, saying that this state belongs to them and nothing anybody can do about it. And that they are behind their son, where people can go to hell. That's not what it is. We have lived harmoniously. We're all friends. He's from Ijaw, from Ikwere. We have been friends. We don't look at our ethnic leanings as the basis of relationship. But this governor and his team are pushing an ethnic agenda, which is creating the division, which is destabilizing the state and retarding development. And that's most unfortunate. If you ask us, what we think is that the governor, as the governor of the state, has to be governor for all the groups, has to be governor to deliver goods and services to all the sections of the state, which is what we believe in.
Mr. Eli, Mr. Chibike just made a couple of comments, and one of them was also regarding to you. You have a right to reply. Please go ahead.
Again, it keeps dragging me to non-issues. That's unfortunate. These issues are purely legal issues. And I'm going to respond to them as much as I can remember in seriatim. First, let me begin with trying to paint the governor with the tar brush. I hope that Inga knows that the world is watching us. He used to speak in this man about immediate past governor Nyesom Wike. He used to speak in this man about that man. Today, what's he saying now? I've taken the position from the one everybody that knows me knows I'm being consistent. Now, as we speak here, the governor, I tell him that the last administration, they flagged off a 54-kilometer or so Port Harcourt Ring Road project. the man had continued the same speed. And that Ring Road project has little or not to do with the riverine or the job pass of River State. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. It's the biggest project. It has flagged up the Trans-Calabari roads. That one takes it into the heartland of the Nigeria area where I come from. But he has commissioned projects that he inherited by administration, government being a continuum, which is what the immediate past governor failed to do. Today in Lagos, which is a biological mate of River State by creation of military decree, 1967, you're running metro in Lagos, a modernized Lagos. Those are not federal projects. They were conceptualized at some point and then handed over from one generation to another, from Asiwaju down to Fashola, from Fashola to Ambode, from Ambode to now Sanwo-Olu. That's how government works. It's not what he's saying there. But here, what do we have? So he's abusing the government for not starting projects just for political sake. He's continuing from where his predecessor stopped, and he thinks he's wrong. Now, back to the issue here. He says the governor had procured judges, and I take strong exception to that. Judicial university is independent. Now, a law will say a man intends the natural consequences of his actions. Would you say that if 27 lawmakers on their own breach the constitution they sought to protect, to defend and uphold, that the rest of the state should keep quiet? The governor sought to say constitution should keep quiet, or judicial should keep quiet? Matters have gone to court, and people are in court challenging that illegality. And we cannot afford to be emotional about that. The law is a law. It's not happening for the first time in River State, in Nigeria rather. It's happened in Ebonyi State, it's happened in Cross River State. The law that applied in Ondo State for Abegu, they applied as well. And no amount of emotionalism can stop that. Now, for our party, the APC, that he thinks he's speaking for, now the question simply should be this. Why go and carry the talk of a mandate thief? Can't to contest elections on our own and win elections? Must we preach a lot because we want to gather people who do not have original on our ballots? Now, the question is simply this. Why do you bring a moral burden on your head? Because at the end of the day, if what they think is that they want to expand the base, political base in River State, then allow the judges to finish their work, and INEC will go ahead and conduct the elections. Represent those 27 as your candidates. If they're able to win, they earn a valid seat. It was alluding to the governor trying to clear away local government chairman. He knows as he knows his name, that the contested for local government elections on a proper law of the House of Assembly of River State, fully sitting. And the next governor that came in, because I'm not a member of his party, went to court, even to the federal court that has no jurisdiction in local government matters, and removed us, still in court. As I speak to you, therefore, the impending judicial obedience to the NLC TC declared strike tomorrow. We'll be back in the appeal court, Port Harcourt. We'll be in the Supreme Court twice, and back to the appeal court, Port Harcourt. We're still in the struggle. He knows. So the issue is that if a governor, for instance, if House of Assembly amends a law to extend the tenure of local government chairman, which will end in June this year, and they say the governor should obey when the court has said no, you cannot extend the tenure of elected personnel, and I said so in reference to the, this back to when the Attorney General of the Federation against Attorney General Abia in 2001,
Mr.
on the issue
Eli.
of tenure elongation for local government chairman.
Sorry to cut you. I hate to cut you there, but we're pressed for time, and I just have one more question to ask you before we go, and that is, this 25 lawmakers, do they have any legal options if they intend to challenge this injunction, or better yet, even appeal, given whatever the court ruling will be? Do they have any options?
Of course they have. There are only two options. Another court is issued against you. You either appeal against it or you obey it. There's no third option. And they have a wider ceiling upstairs, from the appeal court all the way to the Supreme Court. They have it. Nobody's denying them that fight. That right. And if you listen very carefully, my brother on the other side also said they are the appeal court already. And then if at the appeal court they don't get what they want, they also have a further step to go at the Supreme Court. So the latitude for expression of your legal rights is quite wide. I'm not sure anybody's denying them that. And he cannot claim that also.
Wow. Well, Mr. Eli, thank you so much for that.
I want to say thank you very much, gentlemen, Mr. Ikenga and Mr. Eli, for joining us. That was indeed a very exciting session there. Well, we do hope that the crisis does not affect the people of River State ongoing. Well, we hope for peace. That's from us here at News Central. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you for having me.
That That was Mr. Eli is a Rivers legal practitioner, as well as Ikenga Chibike is a spokesperson for the APC for Rivers State. You're watching Breakfast Extra. We're going to a short break. When we come back on the other side, there's more. Stay with us. Now, from last week, following efforts by the country's organized labor unions to coerce the federal government to increase the minimum wage of its, its teeming citizens currently undergoing economic hardships imposed on them by some of the government's policies. Now, the unions say they will commence a nationwide indefinite strike action from Monday, June the 3rd, until a new minimum wage is announced. Now, the leadership of the unions made this known in Abuja, saying that the government has refused to accede to their demands, which include the review of the national minimum wage and the reversal in the hike of electricity tariff. Now, let's take a look at a report brought to us on the matter by News Central's correspondent, Marvelous Obomanu. Take a look.
With inflation now well over 30% as of today, many Nigerians are unanimous in agreeing that a 30,000 naira minimum wage being received by workers is no longer tenable. Despite ongoing negotiations between the federal government and the organized labor, both teams have been unable to meet a compromise. While government has proposed about 60,000 naira against the figure being suggested by labor, this has been outrightly rejected by the labor negotiating team.
As of today, there is no minimum wage for Nigerian workers, technically, by the expiration of the act, by 18th of April. So as at now, we're operating without any law, backing up the minimum wage. They were talking about 100% increase. That's what they have offered. But the 100% increase amounts to one loaf of bread per day for 30 days. That's what it amounts. They are not looking at the quality or the value of what they are offering to us.
Another issue Labour is raising is the hike in electricity tariff. While recently the union had protested, demanding a reversal, it is also calling on government to do the needful.
On the 13th of May, we had a protest to NEROC and to some of the discos, registering our displeasure. That up till today, there is no word from the government. Our demand was that there should be a reversal from 225 naira per kilowatt down to where it was before, 66 naira per kilowatt.
The president of the Trade Union Congress, Festus Osifo, during a joint news conference with the leadership of the Nigerian Labour Congress in Abuja, says Labour has concluded plans to commence an indefinite strike.
We are hereby declaring the commencement of a nationwide industrial action, a nationwide strike, effective from Monday, June 3rd, 2024. And this strike shall be indefinite. And this strike shall be on until we have a new national minimum wage.
Until we sign an agreement on what is mutually agreeable by the parties, our action will be on. But our action is not such that we will not equally negotiate. Because the two parties are now going to negotiate under duress. We're under pressure. They will be under pressure.
With many Nigerians still battling with the increasing cost of living, many are optimistic that government will yield to labor's demand and review the nation's minimum wage to a living wage. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Obomanu.
Now, we're going to be going into a conversation with Marvelous because he brought us this report from during the week. But first, let's go for the news here on News Central. And when we get back, we'll be engaging Marvelous on exactly what the body language of the parties involved in this strike are. Do stay tuned. Let's bring you the news.
Hello and welcome to the news on Breakfast Extra. I am Adebola Adeduba. We begin in West Africa, Nigeria, where Nigeria's federal government has described the demand by Labour for a minimum wage of about 494,000 naira as unsustainable and inconsiderate. Nigeria's Minister of Information and National Orientation, while speaking to newsmen in Abuja, dismissed allegations by Labour that the federal government is insincere with negotiation, saying that Labour representatives have consistently worked out of negotiations with the federal government's negotiating team. He says that the total funds needed to pay federal workers, if the figure given by Labour is approved, is almost 9 trillion naira, which will benefit only 1.2 million federal workers, despite over 200 million citizens in the country. The minister also revealed that workers in the private sector and those with state governments will be unable to benefit from the wage increase, as employers will be unable to pay their salaries. Staying with labor-related matters, 2 affiliate unions of the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria have given the federal government a 21-day ultimatum to resolve the disputes between the government and construction companies, which has led to loss of jobs in recent times. The unions, the Construction and Civil Engineering Senior Association and the National Union of Civil Engineering, Construction, Furniture and Woodworkers spoke to newsmen in Abuja, saying the crisis in the sector is taking its toll on workers. Our correspondent Niyi Omoniyi reports.
The press conference was attended by several members of the Construction and Civil Engineering Senior Staff Association and the National Union of Civil Engineering, Construction, Furniture and Woodworkers. The unions affiliated to the Trade Union Association of Nigeria said their sector is distressed, which has led to a loss of jobs of their members in their thousands.
The 2 unions are looking at about 52,000 workers. Already in the last 3 months, we've lost almost 20,000 workers. And the mass sack is still continuing. If care is not taken, if this conflict is not resolved, it means that in the next 2 months, we should be expecting additional 32,000 workers to be affected.
They urge the federal government to abide by its terms with construction companies and resolve the ongoing disputes with the companies, saying it is taking its toll on Nigerian construction workers.
The federal government should, as a matter of urgency, come up with a clear policies of strict adherence to payment terms. Arising from the foregoing, we call on the federal government to immediately resolve the conflict in the industry by involving all stakeholders in contract awards like Bureau of Public Procurement, BPP, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Works, Council for Regulation of Engineers in Nigeria, CORE, Federation of Construction Industry, FOSI, etc.
They say they are giving the federal government a 21 days ultimatum to accede to their request, or they will embark on a strike action.
We urge the Ministers of Works, the Federation of Construction Industry, FOSI, and all concerned to amicably resolve the current conflict within 21 days. Otherwise, the 2 unions will be compelled to declare industrial actions in the construction industry in Nigeria to address this issue to prevent further loss of jobs of our members.
The unions are also calling for action to resolve the current insecurity challenges in the country, saying their members are being kidnapped by criminals and bandits as they go about their duties. In Abuja for News Central, I am Niyi Omoniyi.
And now to security matters, where former Minister of Education, Obiageli Ezekwesili, has called out the Nigerian military and the government over the persistent insecurity plaguing the country. In a statement released on her X account on Saturday, she expressed condolences to the families of soldiers killed in Abia, demanding answers to the military and government on their failure to address the recurring violence. Ezekwesili questioned the inability of security operatives to arrest, investigate, prosecute, and punish criminals, urging the president to take leadership and ensure the security of the country. She asked why the president is failing to effectively lead the military establishments to punish crimes and secure the people and soldiers across the country. And now to the power sector. The Abuja Electricity Distribution Company has announced a decision to disconnect 24 federal government establishments, including the Federal Ministry of Finance, as well as Kogi and Niger State, over unpaid electricity bills. The company claimed that various ministries, departments, and agencies collectively owe it over 100 billion naira. It emphasized the importance of timely bill payments for maintaining and improving its infrastructure, which is essential for delivering reliable electricity services to the community. The Electricity Distribution Company also reiterated its call for all customers with outstanding debts to settle their bills before the deadline on Monday to avoid disconnection. And to health matters, mental health experts in Edo State, South Nigeria, have called for collaborative efforts to raise awareness and tackle stigma surrounding mental health in the country. Some of them spoke at a summit organized by Health Circle Concept Initiative and the Niger Delta Youth Council in partnership with the Niger Delta Development Commission, saying discrimination and stigma grossly affect mental health victims and prevents free access to counselors for their well-being.
Stigma and discrimination are major problems that mental health has had to face. It's a universal problem. It's not limited to Nigeria alone, but it's something that all of us have to be involved in fighting it. In fact, the bulk of mental health issues are issues that people, they know they are experiencing a distress. And for all these, mental health professionals are there to offer help.
As it stands today, it has affected a lot of people, and which leads to stigmatization and depression. And as it stands now, the economy, it's been out of everybody. Like the parents that have many children in school today are not being able to feed themselves, talk less of feeding the children.
Mental health differs.
In South Africa, Jacob Zuma's MK party is pushing for rerun votes in South Africa national elections. The party has been joined by 20 political parties in calling for a rerun. They accuse IEC of vote rigging. Jacob Zuma's MK party has won the most votes in KwaZulu-Natal with 45.3%, ahead of the Inkatha Freedom Party on 18% and the African National Congress on 17% of the vote. The Independent Electoral Commission has concluded the capturing and auditing of its results in the province. And that's all on the news. It's back to Mazino and Judith.
Okay, you enjoyed it. Yeah, that's. Well, thank you very much. That was Adeduba on the news. And now we have that story that we promised from before. A look at exactly what's happening with the trade unions and, of course, the NLC regarding the strike impending that's been announced for tomorrow. We're going to be establishing communication with Marvelous Obomanu in just a bit. When we get back, stay tuned. And welcome back. Now, from before, we did say that we were going to be joining our correspondent in Abuja, and that's Marvelous Obomanu, who brought us that package from earlier regarding the labor union's announcement of a strike impending for tomorrow. We're joined now by Marvelous Obomanu. Marvelous, good morning to you. Good to have you.
Yeah, good morning to you too.
Yes, indeed. So, Marvelous, first off, we want to just start by asking you, please, can you give us exactly what the situation is, especially regarding the body language of the TUC and the NLC, talking about the strike that has been announced for tomorrow. Is it imminent, is the question that Nigerians would like to know.
This morning, I am talking to you with a mixed feeling that up till today, we are still having on what should be the new minimum wage. We are aware that as at 30th of May, when during the Workers' Day, minimum wage, but they said that the tripartite committee are yet to wrap up what they are doing, and therefore that we should hold on till they are done. And then was 40-something thousand, 50-something thousand, and now 60,000, and then labor is still fixed that what should be an acceptable new minimum wage. should be 494,000 naira. And therefore, as at the day before yesterday, before they held a press conference, they were supposed to meet government on Tuesday, and government away from that 60,000 naira they had already proposed. Then as at Friday, organized labor unions accused the government of not showing up at the meeting, and then organized labor unions said they had a next meeting which mandated them to, declare an indefinite nationwide, industrial action, which by 12 midnight today, it will commence. And then, of course, we've seen some of the affiliate unions saying that they will join that particular industrial action. Then we are seeing other reports where some people in the private sector are saying that going on an industrial strike will not do the government, will not do Nigerians any good. And then as at midnight, the Minister of State for Labor and Employment, Kiru Konyedacho, released a statement that labor should understand, reason with the government, that going on this strike action will not do Nigerians any good. Rather, it will hurt what is already happened, that they should imbibe the spirit of social dialogue. And then when you hear something like social dialogue, you now have to ask yourself, what has been happening to the negotiations? Of course, this is the negotiation, so there ought to be an aim. But the truth is, have we asked ourselves, the money labor is proposing and the minimum wage government is proposing, how realizable it is? How, is this something that is obtainable? Now, the Minister of Information, as yesterday, released a statement that if government goes by what the labor is proposing, they'll be paying about 9 trillion naira as new minimum wage. With the way Nigeria's economy is configured at present, government paying that amount of money, how will it hurt the economy? What will be the impact? And of course, it's not about civil servants. We also have those in the private sector. Can they pay this amount of money? And then you see them retrenching staff, reducing staff salary, people will lose their job, especially those in the private sector. Because when you're talking about Nigerian workers, it is not just the civil servants alone. We also have those in the private sector. How will entrepreneurs, how will employers cope if the 494,000 should be something to go by? I think in all fairness, in all honesty, and in all sincerity, both government and labor should come to this table, not coming with a preempted mindset. Come empty, be ready to accept whatever is thrown to you, deliberate on it, look at it, not having a mindset already before coming to that negotiation table. I think something of 150,000 to 200,000 should be something the labor should be looking at. And then let me also tell you, the amount labor is proposed is not as if government to make government come up a bit. It's not as if, yes, they know that government cannot pay that 490-something thousand with the way the economy is configured at present. Government does not need to pay the workers alone. They also have other capital projects they need to embark on. But what level is come up a bit? They said they have proposed 60,000 naira, and it's 100% increment from what we have since 2019 during President Muhammad Buhari's tenure. Well, ask yourself again, what is the present economic reality? What is the value of 30,000 naira in 2019, fast forward to 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024, where prices of goods in the market are skyrocketing, price of staple foods are going up, we have fluctuation of the naira. Now we are talking about, electricity. You are saying, let's pay them 60,000 naira. Is that attainable? Is that achievable? Can it help the Nigerian workers? You need...
Marvelous. Marvelous, if you can hear me. Marvelous, yeah, okay, fantastic. We're saying that, you made some very valid points there, and they're very pertinent issues being raised across all boards and all sectors. And also all analysts also said, that this must come to an end and some negotiation or compromise must be had. But many thanks, Marvelous, for doing this with us. And we understand that tomorrow commences the indefinite strike. We're very certain that you would, keep your eyes, you're going to be on the ground to cover as it unfolds. But many thanks again, Marvelous.
Thank you, Marvelous.
Let me just give you something before you go. Now, if the 494,000 that labor is proposing is not something that is feasible, at least they can say, okay, let us pay 100 and 150. With the agreement, we will review the minimum wage every year. I think such an agreement is something that, it will not hurt the economy. The government will not be really difficult. So if they say, let's go with 60,000 or 100,000 or 150, there should be an option to yearly regulate and review the minimum wage based on the economic realities that we find ourselves. Thank you.
Many thanks again. We appreciate you. Again, Marvelous Obomanu there, our correspondent live from Abuja. There, we switch gears away from Abuja and back to the center of excellence, and that is Lagos, where we're situated at. We're going to be looking at something very important. It's governance. Now, the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, last week marked the end of 5 years leading Lagos State, with the last 1 year serving under the leadership of the Tinubu administration, which itself marked 1 year in leadership on the 29th of May. Now, reactions from residents have been mixed regarding his performance and vision for further progress. Now, while some acknowledge improvements in infrastructure development under his administration or leadership, many express a desire to see more rapid advances in key social programs and economic indicators going forward.
Now, over the week, News Central's correspondent Niyi Omoniyi conducted interviews with a cross-section of Lagos residents to gauge their sentiment on the governor's 1 year in office since the current administration. Let's bring you that. Let's see their takes on this.
I, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, do solemnly swear.
It has been 1 year since Babajide Sanwo-Olu of the All Progressives Congress was sworn in for a second term as the 15th governor of Lagos State. This anniversary has elicited mixed reactions from Lagosians regarding the governor's performance. Some residents have commended Sanwo-Olu for progress on infrastructure projects such as road constructions and rehabilitation across the state. They note that several projects have been completed or are nearing completion. The governor has also received praise for his respect for the rule of law.
I can give him, let's say, 85% of the tenure he has done is well, including his subordinate, the deputy governor, the speaker of the house. They've done their best. We are a heritage Nigerian problem. You cannot solve Nigerian problem once.
Because we have a governor who will say go and do the right thing. I want the best for my judiciary. And for that reason, we appreciate him a lot.
However, other Lagosians are dissatisfied with the governor's performance, citing a lack of progress on issues like policies as factors that further exacerbate the difficulties already faced by residents in regards to the rising cost of living, high unemployment, and challenges of conducting business in Lagos.
The truth is, as a leader, there are many pressures, right? Pressures from the people you are leading and contemporaries and the rest of them. But I think there's still more he needs to do, like when it comes to, let's say, the road, amenities.
I think you should put more effort in the government so that we'll be able to appreciate him. But to me, we doesn't see, he's not trying enough. He's not trying to the expectation what he have said before, because already I've given the Lagos State the promise that he will do something better. You understand?
As Sanwo-Olu marks the beginning of his second year in his second term, Lagosians are looking to this period with a mix of hope and apprehension.
As your incident commander, I'm giving you the commitment that with the committees and the advisory pool that we're pulling together, it's a bipartisan engagement. We want everybody that have an idea to come and sit with us, tell us straight that this and this is not working. Do it this way. Let us share in the ideas that can ensure that we take ourselves collectively out of, the challenges that we find ourselves.
Moving forward, the governor has significant work ahead of him to meet the high expectations of Nigeria's most populous state, as residents call for prioritizing job creation, good governance, and transparency in his 6th year of service. In Lagos for News Central, Niyi Omoniyi.
Now, as can be seen, there are divergent opinions about the performance of the governor so far and if he had delivered on his campaign promises. Many say that Lagos deserves more in terms of infrastructure and policies that would directly positively contribute to improving the conditions of the people. Others thank the governor and say he has done quite enough in giving the resources that the state needs. In the last 5 years, Governor Sanwo-Olu has made considerable contributions to several sectors, including education, health, infrastructure, agriculture, and housing, some of which are the establishment of several new state universities, which opened the space for more youths to access tertiary education. The first intercity rail line, which was inaugurated by former President Muhammadu Buhari before leaving office, the Lagos State Blue Line, a Blue Light Rail, a 13-kilometer stretch from Marina to Mile 2, which was completed in 2023 and subsequently launched and began commercial operations in September 2023.
Now, joining us on Breakfast Extra to assess the claim of the governor, the efforts delivered in his first 5 years in office as well, is Mr. Gboyega Akoshile. He's a special assistant to the governor on media. Many thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for coming.
Thank you.
Zino.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, many residences, from what you see, the vox pop that was prepared there by our correspondent Niyi Omoniyi, very mixed reaction, so to speak. Now, which is to the infrastructure improvements, under the governorship of Mr. Sanwo-Olu himself. But can you highlight the key achievements in this sector and address the concerns of those who feel more could have been done under his administration?
Thank you very much, and good morning to the viewers. When you say key achievements of the governor, I wonder, what I will, describe as key, because every of the achievements of Mr. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is key. Everything he has done is key, the paramount to the living standards of Lagosians. Do you want to talk about traffic management and transportation? Do you want to talk about health and the environment? Do you want to talk in terms of entertainment or education and technology, making Lagos a 21st century economy, entertainment and arts? And do you want to talk about security and good governance? And in the second term, do you want to talk about inclusion? That's the plus. Do you want to talk about gender equality and all of that? So every area that he promised, from his first term to the second term, every area is key. And we don't have the time. But for the constraint of time, I will try and limit myself to maybe 1, 2, 3 areas, because all the areas that we have touched in the last 5 years are key areas. Do you remember, Nigerians or people, human beings generally, we're quick to forget. Do you remember what COVID did to us in the world? Do you want to talk about that? How Mr. Governor, tackled the COVID head-on? How he rescued not just Lagos, how he rescued Nigeria. In fact, some, neighboring countries around us, like Ghana and the rest of them, curtailing the spread of COVID-19 in this, region. So that's a monumental achievement. It's soft because it is not brick and mortar, right? It's not something you can touch. It's not something you can even see, but it's a huge achievement, and it shot us up in the global rankings. And that's why Lagos State, apart from that, with other health initiatives of the governor and the current administration, Lagos State is occupying an unviable space within the African rankings of 10 best health facilities in Africa. So what that tells us is that we're not competing with states. Obviously, we're not competing with any states in Nigeria. We are competing with countries in Africa. And this, a lot of people don't take, note of. When they're comparing Lagos, we don't compare Lagos with states. They compare Lagos with, countries. Compare us with South Africa, they compare us with Morocco, they compare us with Egypt. And those ones are countries. People forget. When people compare our rail lines, our rail project, they compare us with Ethiopia. Whereas Ethiopia is a national sovereign country, whereas we are a state among 36 states. So that tells you something. It tells you that Lagos is not here to joke. Now, when we came on board, Lagos, was around 30-something billion in terms of, IGR. Check what it is now. With several, with several projects, with several initiatives, the governor has, upped the ante, right? Now, let's look at, transportation and traffic management, which is the first agenda of Governor Sanwo-Olu. He promised that it was going to get rid, I would take your mind back to 1919, pre-1919. You couldn't go to Apapa. People have forgotten. You know, people forget when they are in their comfort zones. People have forgotten that pre-1919, 2019, sorry.
Yes.
You could not go from here to Apapa. You can't say that you have a friend or you have a brother or sister living in Apapa and you just want to take your vehicle and go there. You know that you are going to sleep on the road. You'll probably get there on Tuesday. You understand? Today is Sunday. But today, the governor promised, the governor promised that he was going to get rid of that gridlock. Today, he has done it.
I want to testify to that. Just a second, Judith. I want to testify to that because I live in Festac.
Good.
And I get there in 30 minutes every single day, get here in 25 when I'm coming back from work. So fantastic. You also spoke about health.
Yeah.
Great. People have more access to health. But I still can't walk the streets of Oshodi. I can't use my phone while I'm walking the streets of Oshodi. There's one thing that everybody seems to want to not touch when it comes to Lagos State and the situation of Lagos State, and it's the situation of the menace of touts. So what has the governor done when it comes to the area boy situation in Lagos? Previous administrations didn't touch it, and that seems to be the one thing that most people want out of Lagos State. Please, can you tell us what the administration's plans are?
I'll tell you very, straightforward manner. Lagos has been adjudged, and it remains the safest, state in Nigeria. Now, are there areas that we need to improve on? Yes, there are, in terms of security and social amenities, especially with these social miscreants that you talk about. Now, who are these touts? Who are these people that we call touts? They are, they are more or less, without sounding controversial, they're more or less people that come from outside of Lagos State, trooping every day. Check the record. The record is there. Over 1,000 of them come every day and they don't return. They come into Lagos every day. They don't have where to sleep. They don't know anybody. The moment they manage to finish maybe primary school somewhere, I don't want to mention the zone or any zone of the country, their London is Lagos. They just head up to Lagos and, they constitute a lot of menace. So Lagos is a victim of its own development because Lagos seems to be the only state that is doing well in the country. So we continue to attract more people to the state. And it's a lot of pressure. But then, we are not giving an excuse.
Yeah.
The governor that I serve under, the governor that I work with, does not, in fact, he hates excuses.
Well, I wasn't about to say
that. He's doing a lot. He spends a lot of resources, to ensure that you and I, are safe. And that's why, how many years ago did you hear of major, robbery attacks in Lagos? Let's be honest. You are reporters, you are journalists.
I was robbed.
Well,
I wanted to touch.
2023.
Just last year.
Yeah. Okay, so then you fall into one of the, very minute percentage that we get.
Which takes me to my next question about the minute percentage.
Yeah.
The governance in and of itself in democracy is all about the grassroots, right? And the very dividends of what it is that it trickles down to everyone on the road, right? One of the key indicators that you said in the improvement of this government and this contribution was the COVID-19. But that was 4 years ago. This is 2024. Between 2023 and 2024, 1 year in office. What we've seen is a ballooned case of homelessness, of people on the streets. There's a number of people that I've seen on the streets. There's also seen a situation where the touts that Mazzino just pointed out have now been more emboldened. And so those minute attacks that you see is every day. Snatching of phones, people robbing off shops and doing all of that we see that sometimes even slip through our fingers that we in the media cannot be able to report. What is the Lagos State neighboring force, the
safety
created,
corps,
the safety corps. What are they doing?
Okay.
That's one. And then two, the street lights are not on. The street lights are not on. If I was driving from the office going through the Ikorodu Road, when you're driving all the way down to Stadium and all the way down to where I live, it was not on.
Okay.
In fact, under the Ojuelegba Bridge, the Costain Bridge, going down, Ojuelegba Ikbori, which is the underbridge there, all the way down to Costain, that entire stretch used to have floodlights from Ojuelegba. There's the Stadium, there's Ikbori, and they used to have floodlights.
That's
gone.
Okay. So the first one, I already told you, the causative reason for the high number of people. We are a victim of our development. People keep coming, and this is a subnational under federal government. We cannot, mount the toll gate at the border, of Lagos. We can't say, you have to have a visa before you come to Lagos. Although we're doing a lot to try through our LASRA registration agency and all that, we're trying to want to know who comes into Lagos, who the residents of Lagos are. Now, again, neighborhood watch people, they're doing a lot in terms of gathering of intelligence. You do not want to imagine what the government is doing to reduce the insecurity level that would have actually ballooned, to use your word, in Lagos State. And considering the amount of people that we're dealing with, you think the people, those guys want to let you sleep? No, they don't want us to sleep. They don't want you and I to sleep because, again, they are people of no means address, and we cannot. Just recently, we had an issue of people, being returned to their home state. Of course, the media, cried out, this is human rights abuse against the state and all of that. So we're also being very careful as to the kind of things that we will do. If not because of that, if we are allowed to deport, why not? The issue of deportation would have just been an option, but we cannot because we are under the federal government of Nigeria, and anybody that's a Nigerian, has the liberty to come and live in Lagos. Now, where do they live? We don't know. Recently, our Minister of Environment, and they're doing a whole lot, our Minister of the Environment in Lagos State, I was shocked to my bone marrow to discover that people, are living under the bridge, as in, like a residential apartment under the bridge. So we're doing a lot, and, we continue to, it's a work in progress. And I can assure you that, we will get there. So to talk about this, the streetlight issues, it's, we're working on it. If you, move around, there used to be darkness around, 3MB before, but today, we have lights there. The current administration, what we met on ground, we realized that it is not sustainable. So what the Minister of Energy is doing, we tinkered with retrofitting, and now we're, looking, at introducing the one.
Retrofitting is the word, because only just yesterday across the Papao Shodi Expressway, I saw that the lights were being fitted.
The lights, yes. So they're going to get to that area.
I really hope they do, because it's when you drive under the bridge in Maryland as well.
Yeah, so that's
really dark.
I know, and that's why he can confirm from his own area, from my area now. I know that they're there. So it's moving.
But there's one more thing, sir.
You understand?
There's one more thing that's very pertinent.
Housing deficit, sorry.
Let's talk about what everybody has been talking about inside of Lagos for the past 2 or 3 months. The current spate of demolitions that have been going on.
Okay.
People are being rendered homeless. These are the same people that actually voted into office, the current governor, who will testify to the fact that they had these campaigners come in and said, we're going to do this and this and this for you. And they said, fine, we're going to vote for the governor. And months after, or maybe a year after, boom, they're homeless.
They started demolishing.
We have the situation of
Maryland.
The Maryland,
yes,
which
Maryland.
was one of the most recent ones.
Yeah.
And then there's the
Lekki
one, and onward like so.
Yeah.
What's going on here? Exactly when it comes to campaign promises and accomplishing what you promised the people, how has the governor fared, and why are there these pockets, not pockets, but these very, very plenty instances of people being rendered homeless with the deficit that we're
so I'm gonna throw it back to you. Do you like for bridges to be constructed, around the state, for easy passage, easy movements? So you do. But do you like the bridge to pass in front of your house? The answer I get most of the time is no. We love bridges, but nobody wants the bridge to pass, to be constructed in front of his house, right? Now, we must take very hard decisions. Do you want a good state where we will live sustainably, where environmental challenges will not be our portion? You saw what happened in Dubai recently. You reported it. Flood took over the entire city of Dubai. You saw what happened in London last year. You saw what happened in Kenya, Nairobi. Now, you saw what used to happen in Lekki. There was heavy downpour this morning. You saw what used to happen in Lekki. Look, make no mistake. We used to experience, those, heavy flooding as a result of flagrant disobedience to construction, law. How can you go and build
on wetland?
How can you go and build on drainage channel when you know that the water will flow through here to the Atlantic?
But they're agents and they're councils that are in charge of this.
So that's
how does it slip through the cracks?
So that's what we hear. And the Honorable Commissioner for the Environment, Tokunbo Wahab, has been doing a yeoman's job here. And he has a background in law. He's a lawyer. So, and that's why nobody has been able to hold him, by the jugular, because he ensures that he follows the due process, right? Now, the enforcement agents who gave you the permission, who gave you the permit, who gave you the papers, where are the papers? Where are your documents? Most of the time, nobody can come forward with anything. Look, don't forget we are Nigerians. We are all brothers and sisters.
I hear you.
A lot of people just enjoy. Don't worry. Don't worry. They're not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything.
For the most part, sir, everything that you have said is rather correct. You mentioned due process.
Yeah.
And that is very, very critical. In terms of due process, these people were sold their properties and they felt that they were following due process. They went to the state, they asked for papers and all that.
No,
they don't. They claim.
They don't.
Now, regarding that...
It's a claim, and we now ask them, bring them out.
I agree with you. sir.
And they brought
No.
Hang on a second, sir.
No.
Hang on a second.
No,
but that's
none
not
of
where
them.
I'm going. Where I'm going is regarding due process when it comes to the demolitions.
Yeah.
When it comes to the notice being served to these people,
Yeah.
that's also supposed to be due process.
Okay.
Are they served these notices in
Very
time for them
much,
to
very
actually
much.
make
You see,
arrangements?
I'm a product of the media. I know the kind of sentiment that, is usually generated. I reported for over, 18 years. I was a reporter. So I know the kind of sentiment when I put microphone in front of the people and my camera is recording. But the sentiment is actually the truth. By the time you now do a deep dive into it, you find out that this person was just, telling you a lie. You understand? No, you would have cried.
So you're saying that what they were saying is a lie, that the residents...
No. So the state government usually will serve notices. Fortunately, I told you that, Mr. Tokunbo Wahab would do things according to the law. Now, even, in most cases, hold meetings with them that I am coming, go and rectify or regulate or do this or that. I don't work, in his office. But we see the report because it sends to us that we have done this and that. Most of the time, these people don't comply. And by the time government comes, he has a job to do. You understand? By the time government now comes, of course, it will generate media interest, human rights interest, and all of that. I tell you what, if you are wrongly dealt with by the government, you have a right to go to court. I'm sure you know.
Of course.
You have a right to take the state to
under the
court.
ambit of them.
But they can't because they know that they are wrong. Do you understand now? They know they are wrong. So otherwise, they could have, maybe sought legal backing or something. You cannot. See, you can't block the right of ways. And yet you expect, development to come to the state.
So what you're saying now, just to be clear, in clear terms, you're saying that what they're saying is a lie. They were on the right of way. The right of way did not change, and they can take it to court.
Of course.
All right.
You can do that. Now you are talking about, I won't miss that. We do not make people homeless. You see, we are here to serve the people of the state. Now, we've done a whole lot in the area of housing. In fact, without sounding immodest, the current administration has injected more housing units than any previous administrations in Lagos State. You can fact check me on this, right? Now, since we came on board...
the argument about those housing units are that the common man doesn't have access to it.
And that's
the argument by many Lagosians.
But you are a media person. You can fact check this.
Fact check, which is the reason why I'm telling you this. The sentiments that we have seen from Lagosians is that when this housing deficit, when these houses or units are built, it's either it's overpriced. Or it's only for it's politicized.
No.
That's what they say.
No. That's not true.
So how did we can go back to the 70s and look at the houses that was created in Festac as well. Those were low-level ranking. So they were low-cost houses. They had the high ones and the low ones, and junior civil servants had access to those homes as well. I know people in my personal life who grew up in Festac. There's also the Jakonde. There's also houses in Surulere as well, which is the Bonri estate and the rest. They were all low-cost houses. But that has changed over time with Lagosians saying that either they don't have access or it is politicized or nepotism plays into it, that they're not able to get it. What would you say to that?
I don't know where you got the word nepotism here. Judith, I don't understand. Okay, so let me tell you. I'm also going to throw it back to you. When you talk about low-cost housing, is there low-cost cement? Is there low-cost, blocks? Are there low-cost iron rods? Are there low-cost sand? You still have to sell based on the current value that you used in building, right? So if you construct at the rate of 10 million naira, government does not have business in business. If it is constructed at the rate of 10 million naira, maybe some administrative charges will just be added. It probably will come to like 10-point-something million naira or 11 million naira because government is not interested in making money. You understand? So people who can't afford it will still say, oh, it's out of the reach of the common man. But then, this is how much it cost us to build these units. You understand? And we can't go below this same amount, to put it. But then, what has government done? Because government realizes that government, now, became creative and said, okay, you can do rent to own. For example, Judith, if you want to buy our housing, one of our units, you don't necessarily have to bring the one that costs 18 million. You don't necessarily have to bring 18 million naira. Government will tell you, look for 30% of the entire money. You work, you have a means of livelihood. You can seek, cooperative loan or loan from the office, pay 30%, get your allocation, move into the house, and then you begin to spread the payment, as it suits you or based on the agreement. So we're doing a lot to make you people smile.
Well,
then transportation. You've not talked about our.
We wish we could.
I must talk about it
real quick.
Our red line, our red line and our blue line, train. They are the game changers.
But the residents in Badagry, the residents in Badagry.
No. I don't understand. Residents in Badagry.
They can't.
The second phase of the blue line. Do you know it has started?
When will it end?
When will it end?
That's 10 years.
Excuse me.
No. I mean, government is continuum. Yes.
Now we inherited it, right? And we ensured that we completed it. And immediately we moved to site to start the second phase. Now, what about the red line? It was started within our government, within the lifespan of our government, and we completed it.
Mr. Kosile, I want to say...
No. Are you controverting what I'm saying?
Mr. Kosile, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
The media training is exceptional. Thank you very much.
I don't like the smile on our face. That smile is mischievous.
Mr. Gwega Akosile is the SA to the Governor on Media. We would like to thank you very much. That was a very engaging session we just had there.
Thank you for making our time this Sunday morning.
But now we have to do some sports, lest Favor be angry that we didn't let him tell you guys everything he's excited about inside the world of sports. So let's move on now to Favor, who's bringing us sports for this morning. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Martino. A beautiful morning to you once again, and it's time to talk sports on Breakfast Extra. Let's quickly go straight to badminton and, of course, talk about what is happening, whereby the Badminton Federation of Nigeria has opened its training camp ahead of the Paris 2024 Olympic Games between July 26th to August 11th. Now, two-time African Games champion and four-time African senior champion Anu Oluwapo Okpeyori is Nigeria's sole representative in the badminton event at the Games. President of the Badminton Federation of Nigeria, Francis Obi, revealed that Anu Oluwapo Okpeyori is paired with two national team players, Victor Ikechukwu and Emmanuel Joseph, at the badminton section facility at the Ikoyi Club 1938. Obi said the Federation has concluded plans for the second stage of camping for Okpeyori in Italy. Obi also noted that the African champion will join the foreign camp organized by the Federal Ministry of Sport in Germany from the 1st to the 21st of July. All right, before we move on, we'll go on a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll have more sports for you. Thank you very much for staying with us. You're still, of course, watching Breakfast Extra, and it's time for sports update. We just gave you the first one, and we're going straight to football to talk about, of course, Nigerian Premier Football League, where club captain of Remo Stars, Nduka Jr., scored in the stoppage time to secure maximum points for Remo Stars against Kano Pillars in the Nigerian Premier Football League Match Day 35 clash played in Ikene on Saturday. Ahmed Akiyele opened the scoring for Remo Stars in the 6th minute, but Salisu Mustafa equalized for Remo Stars in the 48th minute. Nduka Jr. then scored the late goal in stoppage time after capitalizing on a blunder made by the Kano Pillars goalkeeper to secure the win for the Stars. This is a big win for Remo Stars, as they had never previously beaten Kano Pillars in a league match. The victory moved Remo Stars up to second place in the league with 59 points behind Rangers International. Away from there, now to South Africa, where Super Eagles defender Olisanda put up a fine performance as Orlando Pirates defeated Mamelodi Sundowns 2-1 in the final of the Nedbank Cup on Saturday. The former Aqua United player was involved in the second goal that delivered the trophy. That played for 90 minutes in the keenly contested encounter played at the Mbombela Stadium and was booked for a rough tackle 4 minutes after the break. The Buccaneers claimed the Nedbank Cup title for the 10th time. Nda had a brilliant season with 19 appearances under his name at the end of the Orlando Pirates Premier Soccer League campaign. Congratulations to Olisa Nda, back-to-back winner. Of course, not an easy feat with Orlando Pirates. And now to football in Europe. It was a fantastic one as Real Madrid withstood a Borussia Dortmund barrage to win the Champions League for the 15th time as Dani Carvajal and Vinicius Jr. struck late in a 2-0 win at Wembley on Saturday. Right back Carvajal headed in from Toni Kroos' corner on the 74th minute before Vinicius fired into the far corner to extend the Spanish Giants' record as the most successful club in Champions League history. Nicolas Füllkrug, who had struck the inside of an upright early in the game, when Dortmund were breaking through the Real back line at will. Thought he had created a big finish with a powerful header, but was flagged offside, and Dortmund's hopes of an unlikely comeback all but ended there. Madrid have now won their last 9 European Cup finals and won the competition 6 times in the last 11 seasons. Congratulations to Real Madrid, and hoping that they would have the very best of sports and, a triumph, especially for Toni Kroos, who's, wrapping up his career in club football. And now to boxing. Deontay Wilder was dropped and stopped in a stunning knockout win for Zhilei Zhang. Now, the battle between the pair unfolded in Saudi Arabia, with potential retirement looking for the loser of the titanic heavyweight matchup. Now, it was Zhang who may have sensationally spelled an end to the champion's career, catching him with a huge left hand and dropping him to the canvas in the 5th round. Now, the former WBC champion had his head slammed into the canvas in a seriously brutal moment, which left him dazed and facing a seemingly impossible recovery battle. Now, Wilder desperately tried to clamber back to his feet, but failed to beat the count and was left on the receiving end of a devastating stoppage. I mean, Deontay Wilder, the bronze bomber, has been sent packing, and he will now return to the United States of America. We don't know what will become of his boxing career, but that's what it is at the moment in the world of sport. That wraps it up on the Sports Update on Breakfast Extra. All right, we'll go on a quick break and, of course, to bring you the news.
Welcome to the news on Breakfast Extra. I am Adebola Adejuba. We begin in West Africa, where Nigeria's federal government has described a demand by Labour for a minimum wage of about 494,000 naira as unsustainable and inconsiderate. Nigeria's Minister of Information and National Orientation, while speaking to newsmen in Abuja, dismissed allegations by Labour that the federal government is insincere with negotiation, saying that Labour representatives have consistently walked out of negotiation with the federal government's negotiating team. He says that the total funding needs to pay federal workers, if the figure were given by Labour is approved, is almost 9 trillion naira, which will benefit only 1.2 million federal workers, despite over 200 million citizens in the country. The minister also revealed that workers in the private sector and those with state government will be unable to benefit from the wage increase, as employers will be unable to pay their salaries. So, security matters. President Bola Tinubu has ordered security agents to go after the killers of 5 soldiers in Aba, Abia State, and those behind the call for sit-at-home in Southeast. Tinubu said on no account should anyone, under any guise, have the audacity to kill agents of the state. And this was contained in a statement on Saturday night. The president, who was reacting to the murder of 5 soldiers in Aba on Thursday, May 30, by elements
elimination unprovoked. Some of the residents have frowned at the development, which has now unsettled residents of Aba and by extension the entire state, with the new security measures adopted by the army and other security agencies. Although commercial and other legitimate activities have resumed in Aba, the people are inconvenienced by the several barricades at strategic locations in the city.
The soldiers that were killed, they were also family men.
We sincerely apologize for that technical glitch. Former Minister of Education, Obiageli Ezekwesili, has called out the Nigerian military and the government over the persistent insecurity plaguing the country. In a statement released on her X account on Saturday, she expressed condolences to the families of soldiers killed in Abia, demanding answers from military and government on their failure to address the recurring violence. Ezekwesili questioned the inability of security operatives to arrest, investigate, prosecute and punish criminals, urging the president to take leadership and ensure security of the country. She asked why the president is failing to effectively lead the military establishments to punish crimes and secure the people and soldiers across the country. And now to the power sector. The Abuja Electricity Distribution Company has announced its decision to disconnect 24 federal government establishments, including the Federal Ministry of Finance, over unpaid electricity bills. The company claimed that various ministries, departments and agencies collectively owe it over 100 billion naira. It emphasized the importance of timely bill payments for maintaining and improving its infrastructure, which is essentially for delivering reliable electricity services to the community. The Electricity Distribution Company also reiterated its call for customers with outstanding debts to settle the abuse before the deadline on Monday to avoid disconnection. And to health matters, mental health experts in Edo State, South Nigeria, have called for collaborative efforts to raise awareness and tackle stigma surrounding mental health in the country. Some of them spoke at a summit organized by Health Circle Concept Initiative and the Niger Delta Youth Council in partnership with the Niger Delta Development Commission, saying discrimination and stigma grossly affect mental health victims and prevents free access to counselors for their well-being. The leadership of South Africa's radical leftist Economic Freedom Fighters Party, Julius Malema, says its party has achieved its mission of bringing the ruling ANC party below 50%. Malema, during a press conference in Midrand, however, suggested that it is still willing to work with the ANC in a possible coalition.
It is us. Our parties are not having what they voted for. For an example, there's something they call, I don't know what it is called. Some say it's the machines crashed. There are no machines that crashed. The machines were being done things is wrong. We know we are going to present that. We are going to present that. Nobody must rush us. And if they were doing anything for us, for our country, then they must listen to us. No rush. No rush. If this is the first time since our freedom we have problems. Problems have emerged, and we must also agree that the feeling of the people of this country, maybe as journalists, I don't know what type of people, we have not noticed. It's the first time that there's a party in 5 months bigger than anybody else. It tells you how people are angry in this country. I know you guys will write very nice, perhaps for your bosses, whatever, I don't know. The truth must be the truth.
And that's all on the headlines. It's back to Mazino and Judith. I am Adebola Adejuba.
Well, many thanks, Adebola Adejuba. We appreciate you for bringing the news. Quite very eventful news unfolding there in South Africa. We wait to see what happens in the coming weeks. We'll keep our eyes peeled on that. But many thanks again, and we'll see you at 12 for the bigger bulletin.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And now we'll take a short break, and when we come back on the other side, we're going to be talking about cyberbullying and journalism. Stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is the third hour for Breakfast Extra here, and yes, we have another big story for you. Now, in recent developments, the police spokesperson in Lagos State, SP Benjamin Hundeyin, announced that a blogger, only identified as Stanley, will be prosecuted for allegedly defaming a businessman, Emeka Okonkwo, widely known as E-Money. In his online video, Mr. Hundeyin made his disclosure on Monday while parading the suspect before journalists at the command's headquarters in Ikeja. Now, according to Mr. Hundeyin, the command received a petition from E-Money about the offensive video, prompting a crack squad of the command to swing into action for investigation. They subsequently arrested the 24-year-old suspect at Uromi in Edo State.
And now the police spokesperson emphasized that the persecution is not due to the personality involved, but because the suspect allegedly committed a crime. Mr. Hundeyin further went on to highlight the importance of following proper legal channels for defamation cases. Now, furthermore, he warned social media users against posting content that could be injurious to others. He stressed that action may be taken against them if their content is found offensive by anyone.
Now, this serves as a crucial reminder for all social media users to be mindful of the content they share online. With the rise of digital platforms, the need for responsible communication has never been more critical, as legal repercussions can follow false and defamatory statements. This case underscores the significance of understanding the legal implication of one's actions in the digital age. As social media continues to influence public opinion and personal reputations, adhering to ethical standards and legal requirements is essential to avoid serious consequences.
And now to discuss this more on the matter and to take a look at journalism in the age of digital media, its advantages and, of course, much more, we are joined by Editor-in-Chief, and that is Editor-in-Chief Pulse Nigeria, Samson Toromade, as well as Emmanuel Onele, a legal expert.
Gentlemen, you're welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Emmanuel, let's start with you, right? When you look at our intro, many of the things we talked there was legal implications. Legal was almost like a buzzword, yes, right? Yes. So with the record case of, the blogger, accused, or rather the recent case of the blogger accused of defaming e-money, what legal frameworks are currently in place, when it comes to addressing defamation? And does the police have to get involved? Is it, arresting, swooping in and catching this person and just taking them to prison or holding them?
As I have rightly pointed out, the question is very clear. Does the police have to be involved in defamation cases? Defamation cases could be civil and criminal. Civil in the sense that it's a tortious action. People could go to court, file a civil action against you for defaming them. And then also in the criminal code, section 373, 374, 375 actually criminalizes, spreading information or spreading something about somebody which, as the case may be, destroys the person's reputation or causes damage to the person's reputation. So it is criminalized in the criminal code, and that is why the police can come in. Also, even in the repealed Cybercrime Act, there are places where you cannot, slander someone or make statements that someone finds injurious or insulting. Although the act has been repealed, that particular sections have been repealed from the law. It's no more in use now, and they can come in and yeah.
I want to go to the journalism angle, and that's Samson here, Editor-in-Chief of Pulse. So you're not new to online digital mode of journalism. But with that, with the introduction of digital online space and all, how does that affect traditional journalism in any way, shape, or form?
I think I should just start by saying that journalists are not perfect people, right? And so I think that's why traditional media, for example, they are like systems to check, to make sure that everything you are putting out is accurate and that you have done everything you need to do to ensure that the information you are putting out is what it should be. I think with the advent of digital media now, those systems don't exist because the information is more democratized and lots more people are getting into this space without the sense of responsibility for putting systems in place. And in that way, you also get to see that the way people are now consuming media in general kind of tilts towards that digital side where everything is more instant, everything is more sensational.
Digest.
And yeah, and I think that's also affecting digital media, like traditional media, because they see what's performing with the audience and they want to get on that side of things too. And so it's a very twisted situation currently because you also now see very traditional media, very old media guys now who are kind of also doing the same thing that media, new media are doing, in the sense that the systems are not working in the ways that they should.
The systems are all geared towards clickbait.
Yes.
The more sensational, I want numbers.
Which is what more people are reacting to. So it's, you know what, if this is what people want, let's give them what they want. It's like I said, it's a twisted situation.
Well, speaking about twisted situation, we have a package just for you, about to roll that clip. Take a look and just see what we have, and then afterwards we'll come back and continue our conversation here in the studio. Take a look.
Trying to grow my page, I wasn't having any other bad intention to spoil Sir Imoni's name. I was just making that video. I didn't even think the video would go to that extent. I know the video was very wrong for me to make such a video, but I didn't know the video was going to escalate to that extent. So I made everything in that video was not true. I've been praying to get this opportunity to say I'm very sorry to Sir Imoni. I didn't mean to tarnish his image. I didn't mean to spoil his name online.
Oh, definitely he's going to be prosecuted because the things he engaged in are criminal in nature and they have legal implications. So he's going to be prosecuted. He has defamed. That's an offense. He has also published false news about the complainant.
All right. Now, there you just saw it there, the accused of defamation and, criminal offenses. He was there, saying that his intentions were not to be, to abuse e-money, but better yet, it was just because of his video and wanted to go. He didn't think it would go viral. He just wanted more clicks. And on the other side, we saw the PRO there, SP Benjamin Hundeyin, they're saying that what he's done or what he said is criminal in nature.
So let's come to you now, Emmanuel, again. He said criminal. What exactly makes this situation criminal for the accused here?
Okay, so the law is very clear on what a crime is. When a crime is defined in the criminal code, it means the police can go in and prosecute such actions that are defined in the criminal code. There are some other laws that actually criminalizes some things. One of those laws is the Cybercrime Act, which criminalizes a few other things. Section 24 of the amended act criminalizes sharing or posting pornographic images of somebody on social media and whatnot. So since it is defined in the criminal code, the police would ordinarily swoop in. And then defamation, like I pointed out before, was Section 373, 374, 375. It is backed by law, as the case may be. So they can swoop on, actually.
So that's defamation when it comes to cyber cases. But what about defamation as in regular, maybe regular interactions between people? Is that also criminal as well? If I said something about somebody that wasn't true and he goes to the police, would I be arrested? Could I be arrested? Or is it just the function of it being digital that makes it criminal?
Okay, Section 373 defines what defamation is. And as we are aware, everybody is aware, libel, slander, those are the two. So it is if that particular thing is published in a medium, usually permanent medium, or if such thing is, it could be written, it could be video, it could be audio.
Recorded in any way.
Recorded, so provided it is published in a medium. That's what the law provides. The Cybercrime Act actually provides that if it is recorded in a digital medium, that's what the Cybercrime Act provides. So that's why you can criminalize those things. So those things are criminal in nature. The thing is, regarding this particular incident, the old Cybercrime Act, which is the 2015 one, there's a new amendment in 2024, which was assented by the President in 28th of February of this year. So in the new law, the section that actually criminalizes this thing, which is the section 24, subsection 1, it says that if all these things are produced in these things are put in those digital medium, and then these things that you say or do, insults, it has ill will, all of these things against another person. It has been amended to say that, no, it shouldn't be just insult, because you can say something against somebody and then the person comes up and say, this is insulting to me. Mm-hmm. You can't define insult in the real sense of it. If we're looking at it, because an opinion could be an insult to somebody. Mm-hmm. And you can't criminalize an opinion.
Depends on reception. I take it as an insult.
Exactly. So what the law now comes to say is to say that, okay, you know what, if this thing causes breakdown of law and order, then this thing should be a defamatory element. Mm-hmm. If this thing causes breakdown of law and order, if this thing is pornographic in nature, or if this thing, should I say, impugning to someone's reputation, then that's when you say, okay, yes. So me that is coming to report would have to come and say, okay, you know what, this thing actually impugns into my reputation, and these are examples of what had happened on my reputation that this thing had impugned into.
What it's cost me.
Yes, those elements.
Now, Samson, this isn't the first case that we've seen of bloggers, who are on social media, who just take up a camera, and as far as a point and shoot, they just reel off for clicks and for bait. Another that we've seen very recently in the news was some gentleman who picks up a phone and then starts to accuse the very popular evangelist, song evangelist.
Which one?
Yes. I think there was Mercy Chinwe in the mix.
Yes, Mercy Chinwe was in the mix, who was accusing the man and telling her that the paternity is very questionable because of how the son looked. It was very, very bold thing to do, and also very, very vile as well. And so, which takes me to my question about ethics, right? As far as ethics and integrity in journalism is concerned, how can bloggers, I'm going to put journalists in the side, but bloggers, because you basically work in the digital space. How can they, maintain the balance between speed, wanting to jump on the story and, clickbait and clout, but also integrity and, accuracy as well?
So, I think I'll go back to, the systems thing I mentioned earlier, right? So, I work for an organization that has, a physical address, and so I understand that actions have consequences. And so whatever I do for, my organization, I'm trying to make sure that I'm not doing anything that brings, very severe consequences. And so I have, that system in place. I have that sense of responsibility in place, which is where I think bloggers maybe don't have. So, in my newsroom, for example, we have, a multi-layer system where what someone is doing on, one level has to be, checked by, someone else on another level, and sometimes I have to come in and say, yo, what's going on here? I mean, we've had, a couple of recent examples where something breaks in the news, for example, and, there's that itch to also, just because speed, the time to market is very important. But then it's, no, guys, we have to actually be sure that and, on both those occasions, for example, that we implement those things, we realized that we did not need to publish those things because they were untrue. Now, in the blogging space, for example, basically anyone can be a blogger. Some of these things are one-man operations, for example. And so if you don't have the sense of responsibility to be sure to say, I want to make sure that everything I put out is accurate, then I don't know, you always run this kind of problems. And also just another side of it is some of these operations, again, are also set up to be clickbaity. They want the attention, and so they don't care about
the consequences of spreading.
It's not even necessarily the consequences. I don't think they think about it in the sense of consequences to come. They think about what they are getting from it. So it's the likes, is the retweets, or whatever for them. And so they don't think far along the line of what if this gets the wrong attention and someone is aggrieved enough to chase it down. So I think maybe that thinking doesn't happen enough. And maybe that's what they should think about. One, the sense of responsibility. I have to make sure that I'm actually informing people and not trying to enrich them, not trying to trigger them with, whatever it is that comes into the space.
Well, you make a fair point there.
One question for both guys, the editor and the legal practitioner here. If I have access to a mass of people, if I have access to a cult, I'm using that word loosely. Do I have more responsibility than she does for maybe her just 100 followers that she has to make sure that I don't trigger, like you say, these groups of people? If she commits something, much like if I committed anything, and this is for you, would I be held more accountable than she would? If I had 1 million people and I say, go damage that man's car, and she has 100 followers and she says, go damage that man's car, who's more liable here? What do you think? I don't know.
Okay, so from my standpoint, the law is clear. The law is universal, and the rule of law is applicable in this country. The last time I checked, everybody is equal before the eyes of the law. You don't take one person don't bear responsibility other than the other person. Although the thing is, it is the court that it is on the discretion of the courts to actually give judgment pertaining to some things that the judge perceives. So an example is this: if the judge perceives that, okay, you have a moral responsibility or a higher responsibility to take care of something, the judgment the judge may met out towards you may be different or maybe severe compared to some other person. So, but the law is one universal.
Samson, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of aligned in the sense of, again, you still have the responsibility. If you're putting information out, people are going to consume it, right? And the way the social media works, for example, you can think, yeah, I have 100 followers, but you just need one prominent person to retweet, for example, and then the 100 followers that you have, you're putting that information in front of 50,000 people, for example. So I think every single person has that responsibility. When you're putting out information on social media, especially in the way that it affects someone else, you have to make sure that it's accurate.
Well, gentlemen, many thanks for coming on and just giving us insights. We appreciate you so much. We appreciate you for doing this. And that was Samson Toromade. He is the editor-in-chief, Pulse Nigeria, as well as Emmanuel Enele, who's a legal expert. And they joined us today to talk about cyberbullying and the consequences, or rather cyber crimes and defamation, libel, and everything in between, and also everything in between as well. But thank you so much, gentlemen. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
This is Breakfast Extra. My name is Judith Atibi. Here's Mizuno Appeal. And afterwards, after this break, we're going to have a guest, and we're talking about multinationals and the state of the economy. Stay with us.
Last week, diaper and sanitary pad manufacturer Kimberly-Clark announced an imminent shutdown of its Ikorodu production facility, this coming 2 years after investing $100 million in Nigeria. Now, sources within the company say that the plant has been producing below capacity from late 2023 into 2024 due to the harsh economic environment within the country. In 2022, the company inaugurated a $100 million production facility in Ikorodu, Lagos State, to restart operations after a similar closure of operations in 2019, following a strategic review of its business.
Kimberly-Clark began operations in Nigeria in 2012, but stopped due to unfavorable economic conditions after 5 years in 2019 to later restart in 2021. Now, the company produces Huggies, diapers, sanitary pads, Cortex, and other hygiene and personal care products. And according to the sources, or according to the source within the company who claimed anonymity, he said that the company since late 2022 have battled with high energy cost, raw materials, and reduced demand from customers due to the prevailing economic situation. Now, this has resulted in downsizing and reduced production time from every day of the week to just Thursdays to Mondays, or rather Mondays to Thursdays. Now, the company currently spends around 100 million naira on power generation monthly, aside from maintenance costs, and its monthly fixed spend on operations has risen over 500 million naira.
Now, in recent times, Nigeria has witnessed a string of multinationals exits due to similar economic challenges, and companies like Unilever, Cadbury, and now Kimberly-Clark have either scaled down operations or completely just shut down their facilities in the country. These exits highlight the daunting realities faced by business operating in Nigeria, ranging from high operating costs, inconsistent government policies, infrastructure deficits, to the overall challenging business environment. The impact of these exits extend beyond the immediate loss of jobs and revenue, signaling a need for urgent reforms to attract and also retain foreign investments essential for economic growth and stability.
And now we're joined by Agogo UD. He's a manufacturing analyst at Nairametrics, and he joins us for us to discuss the greater implications for the Nigerian economy and its effect on the Nigerian pocket. Agogo, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. Agogo, what are the factors? I mean, what are the factors you think have contributed to Kimberly-Clark's decision to shut down its Ikorodu facilities completely? I mean, not even downsizing, shutting down.
Well, I think it's the general factors that have led to exits of other multinationals like P&G and others. We have the high inflation level, which has reduced consumer spending. We also have issues with Forex because most of their raw materials are actually imported. And, you know, with the depreciation of the Naira, their import costs increase significantly, and you can't just throw that cost to the consumer. It leads to reduction in demand. We also have energy costs, you know, energy, gas, because they have, for Kimberly-Clark, they have like a gas-to-power facility. They generate their own power by themselves, so they have to purchase gas, and gas is priced in dollars. So with the depreciation of the Naira, it also means that energy cost increases. So you see they spend 100 million Naira monthly, and that's besides maintenance of the gas plants, the local gas plant that they have, and all of that.
Now, this is not the first exits that we've seen. We've seen recent exits. There are more exits in recent time. I mean, from the intro there's Cadbury as well.
There's a GSK.
There's GSK and the pharmaceuticals. Why are we seeing these numbers just, you know, closing shop and leaving?
Well, I think it's a result of a build-up. It's not something that just happened once. It's a result of a build-up. These companies, they have been managing the issues, and perhaps they just look at the Nigerian market and say, if we exit this market, how is it going to affect our general portfolio? For P&G then, they had like the global portfolio is around 80 billion. the Nigeria, $80 billion. While their Nigerian market, they just have a net sales of around $50 to $60 million. So they feel that if they leave, it's not going to significantly affect their general portfolio, and it will make them focus on markets where the returns are higher and they can actually provide shareholders with meaningful value for their investment and all of that. So that's why they're leaving.
And then the impact of this multinational companies leaving. I mean, one of them should be unemployment.
Yes, unemployment generally, yes, unemployment. And also, it sends a bad signal to foreign investors who are interested in coming into the country. Because if you want to come and invest in Nigeria and you're hearing that multinationals in Nigeria are leaving, I think it's a bad signal. It's not good.
Speaking of bad signals, then, I mean, at first when the president came in, one of the things he said was that to devalue the naira, he was saying that the structure that we had was gone, which was when it comes to FX in and of itself, and also subsidy. Do you think that all those policies by the president contributed to the factors of them leaving?
Yes, we can't divorce that from it. Although we can say that in the short term, those policies will hurt the economy in the short term, but they were needed for long-term growth and stability. Because I think the previous regime, where you had like two different markets, and you see the difference between the official rate and the unofficial rate, very large. It's not sustainable in the long run. And from what we heard, then the CBN was spending significant sums of money defending the naira, which is not sustainable in the long run. You also have to look at what we're spending on subsidy. In 2022, I think we spent around $10 billion on subsidy. It's funds that should have been invested in important areas like education, health, infrastructure, and all of that. So we're actually like subsidizing. And they also say that it was riddled with corruption and all of that. That the figures people were bringing, that okay, I imported this amount of fuel this month, does not correlate to what they actually imported and all of that. So I think those were the issues that we were having.
Well, finally, I just want to ask, is there hope for Nigeria with everything that's going on for these multinationals and also for the common man?
These things, they are like cyclical. They happen after some time. For example, if you look at the inflation rate now, which is around 33%, if you go back, you find out that in the mid-90s, we also had inflation rate of around 33%. I think and even worse, in the early 90s, around 1991, 1992, we had inflation rate rise to about 50-something%. So it will happen after some time, then we'll get stability and investments will come in.
Shouldn't the government, there are lots of sentiments about whether the government should step in and try to talk to this, because more multinationals leaving may sort of send a message to foreign direct investors.
Yeah, I think the president has to, not just the federal government, state government and all of that has to come together to look for a way to ensure that we have a friendly investment climate. I think the president has inaugurated a business forum that comprises of government officials and players in the private sector, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. I think they're going to find a way to manage the issue.
Agogo, many thanks for coming. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Agogo. Thank you for having me.
Thank you indeed.
That's Agogo Udi. He's a manufacturing analyst at Nairametrics, and he joined us today to talk about a very, very pressing issue when it comes to our economy. We'll take a break. When we come back on the other side, we're going to talk about prostate health. Is your prostate healthy? After this, stay with us.
Final few minutes here for Breakfast Extra for a Sunday, and welcome back. Now, we're about to segue into Wellness Central, and of course, today is dedicated to your health here when we talk about prostate health generally. We're talking a topic that affects millions of men worldwide. But what exactly is the prostate? Well, the prostate is a small walnut-sized gland that plays a very big role in men's reproductive health. It's located just below the bladder and surrounds the urethra, the tube that carries urine and semen out of the body. Now I see why Judith made me tell you exactly what prostate is.
And as men age, the prostate can enlarge, leading to a condition called benign prostatic hyperplasia. There we go. Now, this can cause urinal problems, including frequent urgent need to urinate, especially at night. But that's not all, by the way. Prostate cancer is also a major concern. It's the second most common cancer in men worldwide, and early detection is key, as symptoms often don't appear until the cancer is advanced. And that's why it's important to know the risk factors and take preventive measures as well.
Now, a healthy lifestyle, including a balanced diet and regular exercise, can help reduce the risk of prostate problems. But that's just us telling you. How about we get a doctor to do the rest of the telling? Today, we have Dr. Adefolami Agumbiade, public health physician here. He'll be sharing valuable insights on prostate health, including symptoms, what to watch out for, screening recommendations, and lifestyle tips to keep your prostate in top shape. Dr. Agumbiade, you are welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Although you guys have practically said everything.
I'm sorry.
The little layman version.
Yeah,
you're the
but
expert.
you're the expert.
Okay, so just as you mentioned earlier, the prostate gland sits below the bladder, and it serves a very, very critical function. The tubes that connect the bladder and that connect that come from the testicles, they run through it. If sexual function was like the Olympics, then we would say that sperm are the swimmers, and then the prostate gland produces the water that they swim in. Okay, so most of the symptoms you will see fall around that transport of things through the tube that runs through the urethra. Okay, so there are three conditions, as you mentioned. You have prostatitis, which is usually caused by infection or inflammation of the prostate. You have benign prostatic hyperplasia, which is also known as an enlarged prostate. And then you have prostate cancer. So those are three common conditions. For the prostatitis, you have like two categories. The acute prostatitis, which is usually, the common cause is a bacterial infection. And most of the time when people have it, one of the things they'll notice is that they have this like burning urge to urinate. When they're trying to urinate, the stream is, when you want to urinate, it's not flowing heavily. And then the usual things that you see with infections, they have chills and fever. So most of the time, it's easy to confuse that with other STIs, because in practice, you would see patients who come in, they think they have an STI, and what they actually have is like an infection of the prostate. If you see your physician, your primary care physician, and they prescribe a course of antibiotics, usually it clears it. Chronic prostatitis, which is chronic inflammation, usually that's a bit much more difficult, because the causes are not particularly well defined or well known. Most of the time when people come, they'll just tell you that they have frequency, they have urgency. That means they feel like urinating frequently, and they have urgency. So in that particular case, you treat on a case-by-case basis. But the other two, the benign prostatic hyperplasia is, as it's called, it's benign. That means that it doesn't have like major significance for mortality. Okay, hyperplasia is not cancerous and all that. And for BPH, usually enlarged prostate, it happens frequently in men above the age of 50. Okay, and some of the signs, and the reason why is the prostate, as it grows bigger, it presses on the tube that runs through it. So one of the things people would see is that they feel, I want to urinate.
But
the person can't urinate. Or the person goes to urinate, but there's always this feeling that I have not finished urinating. Okay, and there's some things that are risk factors for that. If you have a sedentary lifestyle, if you very rarely exercise, if you consume a lot of red meat.
Don't look at me. Stop.
No, I know you exercise.
I do. Thank you very much.
You used to when I knew you.
I still do. Don't tell them. Let's go on.
Okay, so and then also if you're obese, it's a risk factor as well. Now we'll go to prostate cancer. Prostate cancer, the cause is practically unknown, but there are things we know. If you have a father or a brother that has prostate cancer, you are at high risk of developing it. Okay. It's usually slow growing, so most times by the time people feel that they are feeling symptoms that could likely be due to prostate cancer, it's usually too late. It's usually, you understand, because it's slow growing.
If it's hereditary, can I arrest it?
Yes, there are things you can do. So, for example, you can screen for it. There's a particular test we call serum PSA. So we take the blood and they check for a prostate-specific antigen. Okay. So, but in that case, you also have, sometimes you have like false positives. Okay. So if you have elevated serum PSA levels, usually the doctor that sees you would ask you to probably do a biopsy. So they go in with a small needle into the prostate, they take a small slice, and then they examine under the microscope. So under the microscope, you now see whether some of the cells, are they undergoing what we call malignant change. So, and if that is the case, then usually at that point, they will just refer you to a surgeon. A surgeon would, there are multiple forms of surgery that would need to be done to arrest
So
that.
we're almost out of time, and I'm sure I'm the expert on this, so let me talk plenty. I'm sorry, Judith. So we're almost out of time, but people would like to know exactly what they could do to, well, hopefully not have these conditions that we're talking about.
Okay, so while I was preparing for this particular show, I just came up like a list of like 8 tips.
Please.
Okay. They're hard to implement because of the economic condition.
Real quick, because
so people will tell you the first is 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. Okay. Second is, as much as possible, you should prefer to eat whole grain bread rather than processed or white bread. That means bread that is baked from wheat berries. Okay. The third is you reduce your red meat consumption and you eat white meat.
No.
Chicken that is without the skin, you eat more of fish, beans, and other lentils. Then you consume more of olive oil and less of saturated fats. And then you avoid sweetened drinks. So soda consumption, the regular, I won't mention names, but the regular sodas that we drink. And then you reduce your salt intake, you eat smaller portions, and then much more importantly, you become physically active.
What about sexually active?
Okay, so yes, it's interesting you mentioned that. There's been an association with
exercising your prostate glands with sex.
Yes, so people who do not ejaculate frequently, okay, are at higher risk of developing prostate cancer. So, and I'm sure that you're happy to hear that because it means that if you are active, if you are extremely active in the other room, it reduces, it lowers your risk. So we would ask you to, use your prostate gland.
Okay.
Yeah, well, listen, Nigerian men will take that as an excuse to to philander around. You know what I mean. But doctor, thank you so much for coming on.
Dr. Gumberi,
thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for doing this.
Stop really putting everything we need to know about prostate health.
Very
nice. Very much. And we want to say thank you to everybody out there as well for joining us since yesterday morning, since 8 a.m. up until now. Thank you very much for being our company.
Yes,
and
indeed.
for letting us into your homes. We're going to do this again all over.
Oh goodness me. I cannot wait.
Yes, we
can. We cannot wait.
Until
but many
then,
thanks, many thanks.
It's goodbye. My name is Mazino Appeal.
And I'm Judith at TV. We appreciate you for doing this. We'll see you again on Saturday.
Bye-bye, guys.